Secondly, I want to talk about technique. Okay, because that's the second most important thing. I feel a bit humbled because Melanie is a yoga teacher, so I'm going to teach finger yoga. So I apologize, Melanie, about about what I'm about to say. I like to think of it as finger yoga. You could reach out to me afterwards offline to correct. It's the spirit of yoga. It's actually not certified or anything. So, so there we go. I said it. So therefore, I'm safe. So ukulele technique, you should all have access to this. I'm gonna go through that, and I just want to make sure that I don't bore everyone and explain why I'm talking about technique here. So even if you've never touched a ukulele, you have a technique. That's just the way it is. Whether that technique will help you to play or not is what it's all about. So there's no ukulele technique police that's just gonna check up on you. It's just meant like if you take those good habits and if you make them like part of your warm up, then you'll have a ton of fun and you get the results much faster. So I figured I might as well talk about those things right now. So number one thing, let's talk about the left hand here. The number one thing I should say about the left hand, if you're going to play guitar or ukulele or bass or anything, even piano, is what you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep them fingers here, the fingernails as short as possible. So why is that, you might ask? Well, because when you come and you press down on the actual string like so, what's going down is, of course, the section of the soft section of the tip of your finger. It's soft, right? So what you don't want to do, what you don't want to happen is your nail hitting the fretboard because it's going to leave dents, and it's also going to make it unpleasant. So number one part of the technique is playing on the fingertips. So therefore, you could keep your right hand as long the longest nails you want. But on the left hand, please keep them as short as possible, just for your own benefit. The second thing I want to talk about is playing close to the fret. So here, let's have a view of what that looks like. So what happens is, technically, when I press down anywhere in that little space, we talked about that earlier. So the fret is all of this. But really, what's going on is if I press down here, in reality, where the metal part is, where the actual fret is, what's going on is that the string is getting shortened, and this is where the point of contact is. So if I press down and I play here, if I'm really far away from the fret, this is not the type of sound we usually are after. But if you move closer to the actual point of contact, which is the metal part, you'll notice that the sound is much nicer, and also it's much less effort. So you want to get as close, still on the fingertip, get as close to the fret as possible, but without going overboard, because if you're over the fret, as you could tell, it sounds very muted. So you could try that. If you have your ukulele at home right now, I would recommend you, especially since you're all on mute, you might want to experiment with that, just going close to the fret, maybe on the fret, just to see how that feels. And that is true whatever finger and whatever fret or string you're playing. So the two techniques, play on the fingertips and play close to the frets. So third technique is keep your wrist curled forward. Okay, so let's talk about this one. By the way, I'm not in the yoga part yet, just in case anyone is wondering where did the yoga go. The yoga is going to be, or what I call yoga, is going to be how we apply all this. So if it seems like, okay, I'm never going to remember all this, don't worry. It's going to be super easy. I have a perfect exercise for this and to help you build your ukulele muscles and stretches. So the wrist curled forward. So let's talk about that. So what you want to do is you want to be able to play with this, like bringing your wrist forward. And why would you want to do this? Well, let's talk about that. So let's say you brought your wrists back. It's probably going to be very difficult for you to put your fingers down and play on the tips. if you do the opposite, if you bring your wrist forward gently, like so, as you could tell, my hand naturally falls into a position where my fingertips are, it's much closer to my fingertips, you could tell here. It's not that crazy, but there's a slight curve here. So this is what you want. Which brings me to the part I completely forgot about. As you might have noticed, I am standing up, therefore I'm using a strap. But depending on the size of your ukulele, you actually don't need a strap. We'll talk about that a bit more in a second. But typically what you want, let's say, imagine I don't have a strap, is you want to hold, I guess, your ukulele like a kid or a baby. More like not a kid, that would be, you need to be pretty strong to hold a kid, like to hold a baby. And like so. And depending on the size of your ukulele, you might experiment with the place where it is. But one thing that's for sure is, just going to show you quickly, it's not laying flat against my chest. It's about at breast level, but depending, mine is a tenor size, so it's a bigger ukulele. But if I had a smaller one, you just want to hold it, and the other hand here will hold things in place like so. So this is what you want. If you're sitting down, and if you have a ukulele that's big enough and have a good chair, you might want to rest. I'm going to show you that tomorrow when we go through more stuff, but I'll be sitting down then. You want to use this part just to rest on your thigh, and it's going to hold its balance. But for now, what I would advise you to do, because this is all about getting comfortable with your ukulele, is just experiment with the placement, experiment where is your sweet spot, because we're all different. So since we're all different, it only figures that for all of us, it's going to be slightly different placement. But one thing's for sure, it's about chest level. It's about usually the ukulele is slightly tilted upwards, like so. And the last thing is it's not laying completely flat, like so. There's just like a slight angle going on away from your body so that the ukulele can resonate. So, which brings me to the fourth technique. Like so. So fourth technique is please leave a space between your left hand and the ukulele. So what do I mean by that? So let's take a look a bit closer. You don't want to be like this. Well, depending on the size of your hands, one of the reasons you don't want to be too close, like you want to, sorry, wrong angle. You don't want this. You want to leave some space. As you can tell here, here's a bit of space. So to be able to move more freely, because if you don't do that, as you can tell, like, of course it feels more comfortable at first to hold it like, I don't know, a broom or a baseball or bat, or I guess if you're playing golf or something, but that's not going to help with your stretches. It's not going to help with your position. So there's always, sorry, reverse angle, a slight some slight space here between your left hand and the ukulele. As we talked about, coming up next is keep the neck of the ukulele pointed upwards slightly. And number 6, keep the thumb low. Let's talk about, this is going to be fun. Okay. I want you all at home to do something for me. Please use your right or left hand. It doesn't really matter. And I would like you to use your 2 fingers flat like this, exactly like I'm doing, and press as hard as you possibly can on them 2 fingers, like so. And now that you're done that, now do the same, but go on the tip of your finger, like so. And press down as hard as you possibly can. I'm going to just change the angle here. That's better. As you'll notice, you have way more strength when it's on the tip. So this is another reason why we're playing on the tip of the fingers. And this is why keeping your thumb low, I'm going to show you what that means in a second. So keeping the thumb low really means just avoid going overboard like this, because, I mean, let's just try it at home. Bring your thumb, like let's do it. Let's go what's forbidden, so to speak. Bring your thumb all the way around and then try to play on your fingertips. Like just try, especially on the 4th string. You'll notice it's almost impossible. Now slide your thumb down, and as you could tell, automatically it opens up and lets you stretch. It's the way the hand is made. Here, this brings it all together. If you open up by going down, this is why you want to have your thumb a bit lower, just to have that more reach as we do the exercises. So keeping your thumb low, and where, I know this is what you're asking, but where exactly should I keep my thumb? Well, I'm glad everybody asked. In case you didn't, the tip of the thumb should not go below the middle of the neck, and the tip of the thumb should not go beyond the edge of the next rail. So, what does that mean in plain English? Let me quickly show you. So, what you want is something like this. So, as you can tell, my thumb is more or less aligned either with my first finger, remember 1, 2, 3, 4, we talked about this earlier, or ideally, if you're able to pull it off, which is not comfortable at first, more or less behind your second finger. So what's the reasoning here? Well, some of you might remember going to math class. This is a triangle. So basically, you have the best balanced position if your thumb is more or less in the middle of, let's say, the triangle formed by your first finger, your index, and your pinky, the forefinger. So this is the optimal position, but this is fine. But what you notice, anyway you slice it, is that the thumb is 90 degrees angle to the neck and doesn't really typically go over the edge here, and could go as low as about the middle. Sometimes when you want to rest or you're playing a chord you're really comfortable with, you'll even see me or other ukulele rock stars, not that I'm one, but if you look for ukulele players, you'll notice, depending on the size of your hands, oftentimes people will, let's say, playing, I don't know, a G chord will be like this. That's fine. But for as soon as you're playing melodies or more complicated chords, you'll notice everyone brings their thumb down the neck. So look at that. We covered technique 7, 8, and 6. Last but not least, let's talk about your first finger. So again, everybody's hands are different. Please reach out if you have questions. This is what I'm here for. But I want to make sure that we cover this properly. So let's talk about the first finger. So, and let's talk about finger yoga. Finally, I know the moment you've been all waiting for. So again, I'm so sorry, Melanie, for what I'm about to do. Please forgive me. So what we want to do is, at first you'll notice the stretch between your fingers is not that great. So this is what it has in common with yoga is, as far as I know, the best way to stretch is to take the desired position, breathe, obviously, and hold it for a little while. Now, if it's too painful, you should stop, probably shake your hand, and sometimes take a break. But the goal is to hold it, 5 seconds is a very, very minimum. If you could hold it 10 seconds. It also puts you in the ukulele mindset, depending on the type of day you might have. Like if you had a stressful day, just take it as a way to connect with your ukulele. So I would recommend starting this exercise at the 3rd fret. So 1, 2, 3, once again. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna place the first finger. In fact, if you could do that at home, that would be wonderful. Place your first finger on the 3rd fret on the 4th string. So the one closest to your face. It should sound a little bit like this. So I'm gonna review, and you might wanna have a printout or a screen showing you the techniques, because we're gonna review them. At first, it's gonna be a bit involved, but very soon you'll know them literally by heart. So there's no problem. So let's put the first finger down, and on the fingertips. So again, we have this nice, let me change angles. We have this nice little curve going on here so that the finger is really on the tip. This is what you're looking for. So 3rd fret, you play it. Am I close to the fret? Yes, I am close to the fret. Is my wrist curled slightly forward? Yes, it is. Is there still a space? Yes, there is a space here. We could see it. Is my neck tilted upwards? Yes, it is. What about my thumb? Is it low? Yes, it's low. Where is it? It's not beyond the neck, and it's about where my second finger is going to be. Of course, I'm going much slower than you would, but it's just to make sure that everyone is in there, no one's left behind. Okay, so I'm holding this for at least 5 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what you want to do while keeping this in place, and you could use your right hand if you want to, but try to make it on your own first. Bring your second finger on the 3rd fret while still holding, and you play again. Now this is gonna hurt a little. You're gonna feel the stretch at first. So this is where you want to breathe, and you want to make sure that is your second finger on the tip. Is it close to the fret? Is the wrist curled forward? And so on and so forth. What's really important about that is, as you'll notice, my first finger is slightly tilted. It's kind of on this side. And why is that? So this is the last technique we've not seen so far. The reason for that is because let's just talk about the index and the pinky. If I put my index finger on the absolute perfect position, like so, I'm gonna change position so that you can see what's probably the best angle. It's probably this one. So yeah, there you go. It's perfect like that. So if I put it like that, what happens is if I try to put my pinky down, as you could tell, my pinky is kind of tilted, not in a good way. Let me just try to find it. And the problem with that is most of us, I mean, you might be different, but the pinky is much, much weaker than the index. So to give the pinky a chance, this is why we're gonna sacrifice the index by tilting it. Like, put it in place and just imagine you just give it a little flick like this so that it falls, but it still keeps its properties. But if you want to check out where it's probably going to be more on the side of the finger slightly. So going back to finger yoga, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And finally, pinky. You might notice that your fingers are sliding, which if they are, just put them back in place. Just go through the techniques to make sure you have them. And 1, breathing, 4, 5. Again, 10 seconds is better. After that, well, you guessed it, you're gonna remove your fingers, you're gonna shake your hand, shake it off, and you're gonna repeat that process on the next string. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. Take your time. So the goal of this exercise of the finger yoga is really to get you connected to really, let me switch cameras, to get you comfortable and like finding out about your instrument. Every ukulele is different. I'm of the belief that it's up to you to find out what your ukulele sweet spot is. Every instrument is different. So after you're in tune yourself up. I mean, by doing the finger yoga exercise. And this is great because it feeds your hand with the proper positioning. It builds your stretching. Again, at the 3rd fret at first. In case that becomes really too easy, you could move it slightly to the 2nd, even the 1st fret, which is the goal eventually. And I still do that, whether it's on guitar, bass, or ukulele. This is the exact same exercise because the techniques are very similar. And the goal of these techniques is very simple. It's to connect you to the ukulele, build your stretches, get in that relaxed mindset because let's face it, no one is playing ukulele to be stressed. I mean, I hope not. So that's it for finger yoga. So let's move on.